You ever feel like your farm products should be selling, but they're just not? Today, we're talking about timing. What if the problem isn't your product itself, but it's just the timing of your offer? Today, I'm breaking down the 5 moments when your customer's actually ready to buy so that you can hit them when their taxi light is on. Let's get started.
Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show.
Well, welcome to episode 358 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I'm your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of mydigitalfarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers like you get more confident in your marketing and sales strategy so that you can grow a profitable business. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to the show. If you're a regular listener, I'm really glad you're here today. If you are new, wow, thank you for being here. Thank you for checking me out. I hope you get a lot out of today's episode. Make sure you subscribe to the show. I always tell my newbies to go check out my first 10 episodes because they were designed years ago for this future moment to be an on-ramp into the marketing lingo, and they're really good. I also encourage you to get onto my email list because when you do, I'm going to send you an email every week for about 3 months that walks you through the jungle of marketing. It's going to teach you the fundamentals. It's going to point you to the podcasts you really need to listen to. It's going to give you a framework and help you understand how it all works. You can get on that list. It's free by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. Today's podcast is sponsored by my friends at Localine. If you run a CSA, sell direct or wholesale, or manage both, Localine helps you simplify your operations and scale with confidence. In 2025, farms and food hubs using Localine grew their sales by 33%. Average order values increased by 31%, and total order count grew by 9%. That's real results across operations of all sizes. Localine brings everything together into one platform: CSA management, wholesale ordering, access to new wholesale opportunities, automated inventory, barcode scanning, there's a box builder, POS. That means less time managing the admin and more time growing your business. And switching couldn't be easier. There are no setup fees, no sales commissions, and their onboarding team will migrate your storefront for free, taking the workload off your plate, often in a matter of days. As a podcast listener, you'll also get one premium feature free for a full year when you use my coupon code MDF2026 at checkout. Head to mydigitalfarmer.com/local line and give the code MDF2026. Start the season strong with Local Line, streamlined, efficient, and built for growth. And now back to the show. So I walked into the grocery store today and it felt like Easter punched me in the face. It's 4 days before Easter when I'm recording this, and I just want to paint the picture for you. I went into Meyer grocery store, which is like one of the bigger grocery stores around here. It has a really good produce section, which is why I like it in the wintertime. And I can pretty much get a lot of the weird foods that I require for my own gut healing journey. So I go into Meyer, and there were so many different kinds of Easter products that it was a little overwhelming. I immediately thought of all of you, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do a podcast on this topic because this is brilliant what I'm seeing through the eyes of the marketer. So here's the picture. First of all, Easter baskets everywhere, all different kinds of things you could possibly think of to sell, just put into an Easter basket with some green grass, plastic green grass, and covered in cellophane with a bow. And let's just call it an Easter basket. Um, Chocolate bunnies of all different kinds of shapes and sizes, different products that were put into the shape of a chocolate bunny just to make you feel like, oh, I should buy that because it's a bunny. Lamb cakes, Easter candy, of course, Easter eggs, all kinds of egg-shaped products. There were even M&Ms that I think were called M&M eggs. I doubt that they run that product or that particular bag with that labeling all year long, but it was almost like suggesting how one could use the M&M as an egg for Easter. And so it struck me as I was walking the aisles of this grocery store wasn't just that Easter was coming, it was that the store was telling me what I should buy for Easter through the power of suggestion. It actually made me want things I didn't plan on buying. Like I was getting new ideas for how to package an Easter experience through these different products. I didn't actually go into the store with the intention of getting a little present for my boys for Easter morning. But I have to admit, as I was walking around, I thought, oh, that's a clever idea. Maybe I could get that and drop it on the table for them in the morning. I didn't end up buying anything. I resisted, but it made me pause. And I have a feeling that if I were someone else walking that store, I might have thrown a few extra things into the cart just to be in the holiday spirit. And so this experience got me thinking about today's marketing principle that I teach a lot, comes up in farm marketing school in a lot of different projects. It's basically that the perfect offer, when you're building an irresistible offer, is a combination of several elements. There's the right product at the right place to the right audience at the right price and at the right time. And so we're going to focus today on the time factor and make sure that you are hitting it out of the park when it comes to building offers at the right time. This is a really big variable that matters. And I don't think we give it enough attention. So today it's getting its very own episode. I want to start out with a metaphor that I've used before, but it's really powerful and it'll help kind of connect the dots for you and see the bigger thing at play here in today's episode. Have you ever tried to hail a taxi cab and the driver's light isn't on? I used to live in New England, and every Christmas, New Year's, I would head back to my parents' house for the holidays. And we had a tradition of going into New York City to see a Broadway show. And we would go out to dinner, and we would often hail a taxi from wherever we had chosen to go out to eat to get us to the theater district. And I remember one particular year when, for whatever reason, we were running late. The show was going to start soon. There was some urgency of getting to the theater, and there just weren't a lot of taxis coming by on that street. There were a few, but they didn't have their lights on. And I was frustrated. We had to actually walk a couple blocks to finally get to a street where there was more traffic and more available taxi cabs. Yeah, so you can't get into a taxi if the driver's light isn't on. You just can't get in. It doesn't matter how badly you want it. This is a really great metaphor for what we're going to talk about today because customers are the same way. They are only ready to buy certain things at certain times. Your customer has a taxi light and it turns on and off depending on certain circumstances. Now, I don't think that it's intentional, but here's what we do as business owners if we aren't careful. And I'm raising my hand here. I do this sometimes too. I have to constantly watch out for this. See if this is you or if it's ever been you. We try to sell everything all the time, year round. Are you raising your hand right now? Yeah. And when it doesn't sell at certain times, we assume something might be wrong with the product. And maybe we even beat ourselves up and we shame ourselves and we look at our revenue goal that we set and feel like we failed and it's our fault. When what if it's not the product? It was just the timing, right? The offer wasn't right because the timing when we pitched it wasn't really the ideal time. It's kind of like trying to sell swimsuits in February or Easter eggs in October. It's just not when people are thinking about it. So, what I want to do with the rest of this episode is help you identify when is it that your customer's taxi light turns on? Because there are certain patterns here. And when you know what the patterns are, it's a little bit easier for you to be strategic about when you plan your promotions or when you're going to talk things up, when you're going to give energy, your precious energy, to this job of marketing. Because when you know when the taxi light comes on, your marketing is going to get more focused and you're going to see a better ROI from your efforts. So I put together a list of 5 different taxi light moments. I was trying to lump them into categories. I actually had a much longer list, but I didn't want to overwhelm you. I think these are the 5 main ones, and as I go through them, you're going to nod your head and you're going to recognize, yeah, you're right. These are certain categories of taxi light moments. As we do this, I want you to kind of circle the wagons around a few of them, maybe notice where there's an opportunity for you to pitch a product that you have in your product suite around one of these moments, because I have a feeling that some of you are taking some of your products and selling them all the time, and maybe that's okay. Maybe you can have it available all the time, but maybe what I'm trying to get you to do here is really build a promotion, an intentional messaging moment around some of those products in these taxi light moments. So when we identify them, you're going to be able to build kind of a more strategic flow. So let's start with the first one. This one I called seasonal windows. The first way your customer's taxi light turns on is seasonal. Let me give you a few examples and you'll see what I mean. Asparagus season is right around the corner for us here at our farm, and it's like 3 to 4 weeks max, and that's it. When it's done, it's done. There is no me showing up in the online store in September trying to sell bundles of asparagus. If I did that, I'm getting it from somewhere else in the world and shipping it here, right? It's not local. Strawberries, the you pick strawberry window. Those of you who do you pick, you know how crazy your customers are in the first weeks when the strawberries start to turn red and they're asking you, are they red yet? Is it time yet? Can we come to you pick? And those first weeks of you pick are so full of energy and it's electric. Sweet corn. Oh man, people are always asking us, is the sweet corn ready? When's it coming? I know we often have people asking us early on in our CSA season, like in May, they expect the sweet corn to be coming momentarily. And I have to tell them, man, no, this is something that you're not going to see until the end of July. And I know you see it already in the grocery store, but that's not local sweet corn. Cider is another very seasonal product that people associate with a certain time of year. It's a short span of time when that's really has a lot of attention. Pumpkins, the pumpkin patches, the pumpkin picking, all things around pumpkins. That's a fall festival thing, right? So sometimes the calendar is what turns the taxi light on. And when the season ends, it shuts off and people just aren't thinking about the product as much, they aren't wanting the product as much, or maybe in the case of asparagus, I know after 3 weeks, I am sick of asparagus. I don't want to make anything else with asparagus, and I'm ready to let it go, and I don't want to buy it anymore. So, early season is when you're going to see the strongest demand, this whole concept of early to market. If you can be one of those lucky farmers that brings the first tomatoes to the market, you're going to score. You're going to have a huge line. You're going to be able to charge more for that product because you're taking advantage of this seasonal window. Everyone is trying to get you into their taxi. All right. The second way that I see the taxi light turning on is through rituals or tradition moments. So I have a few examples here. Obviously, Easter, which is what triggered this episode, the Easter ham, the Easter lamb, people expect to have that at their table. And so they are looking to buy. They might not be as prone to purchasing your ham in another month, but man, they all want it in April, don't they? The Thanksgiving turkey is another great example. Watermelons around July 4th or sweet corn around July 4th. This happened to us one year where just the way the sweet corn picking worked, we had a kind of a slow patch on the weekend of July 4th, and we didn't have any sweet corn to sell that weekend. And it was just a devastating hit to the pocketbooks because that was the window. People were going to buy loads of it for their parties, for their get-togethers with family, and they had to go somewhere else to find it. Mother's Day, flowers, all of you florists, you make a lot of your sales on that weekend, and you plan for that because their taxi light is on. So these aren't optional purchases when it comes to rituals and traditions. They're expected purchases. So we better have this item available when the customer wants it to be a part of their holiday tradition. I'm thinking back to my grocery store excursion this morning. The store didn't just remind me that it was Easter, it reminded me what people do at Easter. Egg decorating kits, egg hunts and candy. They eat lamb cakes. They give Easter baskets. They wear Easter dresses. They buy and give Easter lilies. They eat Easter bunnies. They have Easter egg bunny hunts. They have Easter eggs. They have an Easter ham. They might even have an Easter brunch, Easter breakfast. They might go to church. They might have donuts. There's just all these rituals that we associate with that holiday. So, what does it look like for your product suite when you think about this category of rituals and traditions? I think it would be a great exercise every holiday season of the year to, just as an entrepreneur, as a farmer, business owner, to take a stroll through a big grocery store, maybe the week before the holiday itself, just as an exercise, maybe as a research assignment, and take notes and notice, what do you see being promoted? It will give you ideas for categories of products, for ways to bundle things. What's trending and popular that time of year? Product renaming ideas, product shapes, like that whole M&M Easter egg shape thing. Product positioning, merchandising, where things are placed in the booth or in the store. Even what activities are associated with the holiday based on what's being sold. It'll just kind of remind you. And then you can go home, take notes, and when it comes time to plan your promotion calendar for the next year, you'll have this list. You could even pop it into ChatGPT and brainstorm, but you'll try to think through, is there a way that I can use this information, these traditions, these rituals, these activities that people do on this holiday? And is there a way that my product could layer into that in some way? Right? So I just want to suggest that as a possible activity. Once I realized all the marketing that was going on in the store this morning, I honestly started taking photographs so that I could share it on Instagram with all of you guys just to be like, look, here's another example. Oh, here's another one because it was so, so striking. And honestly, some of the ideas were making me think I don't have a lot of product available to sell this time of year yet. So it's a little more difficult for me. But some of you guys who have a lot of value added products, you might get some really cool ideas by doing this exercise of strolling through the grocery stores and just seeing what can you learn from how these great merchandisers are doing their jobs. Okay, let's move on to the third suggestion. The third moment a taxi light turns on is when your customer's life goes through a change. So I have like life events and identity shifts. Okay, things like getting married. All of you florists, you know about this. If a bride is organizing and planning her wedding, she is going to have flowers. I mean, at the very least, she's going to have a bouquet, but that is just expected, right? What are all of the different products that are surrounding a wedding? And does your product suite tap into any of those? A new baby. Anytime a new baby comes into a family's life, there's not just food changes, but there's all kinds of baby gear. There's like your schedule shifts, how you eat, when you go do things, when you go shopping. Relocating or moving to a new town brings opportunities, buying a house, even going on vacation. I would call that a life event. People go into vacation mode, and at least when I go on vacation, I suddenly give myself permission to spend money a little more frivolously than I normally do because I'm like, oh, we're on vacation. I'm allowed to splurge. Um, Getting a bigger freezer, I kind of lumped this into here. Um, that's not really a life event, but for some people, I see this in my CSA. They get a bigger freezer, and then all of a sudden their mindset shifts. They become someone who's more of a stockpiler, a prepper. They start buying bulk meat. They start freezing my vegetables. They buy bulk produce. And then just a personal example, those of you who've been listening to me for the last year or so, when I started dealing with my health issues a couple years ago, I was very ready to invest in food differently. I suddenly changed. We expanded our food budget dramatically because the foods that were healing me were more expensive. They were harder to access. And I was ready to do that because that became my priority. That was a major identity shift for me. Um, I've recently gone through menopause. And so now I'm in a new space. There's a whole identity shift that goes on with that. And I've now started investing in a gym membership, which I never did before. And now it's just, of course, I'm going to do this. I want to make sure that my body stays healthy and active as I age. So when our identity shifts, buying behavior often follows. So I think it might be helpful for you to look at your product suite and ask yourself, how is that product suite ideally positioned to serve a customer when they go through some of these life transitions? And maybe there are some that I didn't mention. Are you currently serving people as they experience some kind of a life transition? I know that some of you are, but maybe you just haven't connected the dots and realized that's happening. Now that you see it happening, you're like, oh, that is a pattern. You can begin to suggest it as you begin to see new people entering and shifting into that new identity or into that new season of life. Today's podcast is sponsored by Farm Marketing School, my monthly membership for farmers. Before we dive back into the episode, I want to speak to a very specific kind of farmer for a second. If you're a year or two into your business and things are working, but your marketing still feels kind of scattered, like you're posting, you're sending some emails, you're running promotions, but it all feels disconnected and you're not sure what's actually driving sales, I just want to say that's not a lack of effort. That's just a lack of structure. Because most farmers don't need more ideas. What they need is a system that connects everything together. And that's exactly why I built Farm Marketing School. Inside, I teach you how to actually design your marketing so that it works like a machine, a system, not a bunch of random tactics. We map out your full customer journey. We build your email engine. We create intentional promotions and product pathways. So your marketing starts handing off from one piece to the next like a relay race instead of you running every leg yourself. And we do it through 30-day project builds. So you're not just learning about marketing, you're actually finishing things. You're actually building the marketing assets in your marketing machine, your sales funnel, your promotions, your lead magnet, your weekly email rhythm, all your marketing assets. And that's when the shift happens. Marketing starts to feel lighter. The flywheel starts to spin. Sales start to feel more predictable. And you finally feel like, okay, I'm on the right track. I know what I'm doing. If that's what you've been longing for and what you've been missing, then I want to invite you to join Farm Marketing School just for a month. Come inside and see what it's all about. You can learn more at mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. And now back to the show. Okay, number 4. I'm going to spend a little more time on this one. This has a bunch of ideas. The fourth way the taxi light turns on is when your customer experiences a pain point. Okay, this is where something physical happens, or there's an emotional pain, or there's just this deep philosophical, like, this should not be in the world. And I want to be a part of the solution. So I kind of broke this up into several different subcategories. So hear me out because some of these are really going to speak to some of you. First of all, health wake-up calls. In our space as farmers, this shows up a lot, and these are identity shifting moments. I have customers who tell me I had a cancer diagnosis, and so now I have to eat organic, or a heart health scare, or high cholesterol, or gut issues, especially now that I'm telling my whole gut healing story. I'm attracting a lot of people who have similar issues and their food sensitivities, and I'm educating them, I'm providing that value to them. And so they are dealing with a very acute problem and they want to solve it and they see hope in my story that maybe through food they can heal themselves. Hormonal changes, fertility struggles, right? Or menopause, perimenopause, or your doctor telling you, hey, you need to change your diet. These are things that cause a person to go from just being passive to actively searching for better food. So maybe for a farm, this means that we suddenly start talking about clean food more in our messaging, right? We point to the organic label, or that we are grass-fed meat, the healthier protein, or that we are low inflammatory or gut friendly. Maybe we even create bundles, produce bundles that are gut friendly, and we talk about fiber. Or we have starter kits for clean eating. Sometimes the taxi light turns on when your doctor says something that scares you, and there you are ready as a brand to help them, to be that medicine. Another way this kind of shows up as a problem pain point is the I'm sick of this kind of moment. This isn't necessarily medical, but it might be an emotional tipping point. So things like, I hate meal planning. Or I feel like I feed my kids junk all the time and I'm sick of it. Or I don't trust where my food's coming from. Or nothing tastes good anymore. Or I'm tired of my grocery store food goes bad so fast, right? There's this frustration threshold that is breached. And the pain builds slowly. And then all of a sudden, there's just this I can't take it anymore. I'm sick of this. And it flips them into action. So sometimes the taxi light turns on when frustration with something finally outweighs the customer's inertia, and the pain of staying stuck is greater than the pain of blooming and changing and becoming a new version of themselves, and they're ready to take action. This also, a third way this could look is what I call the running out or depletion of inventory moment. This is huge. Like there's pain and fear when your customers run out of your product. And this is what we're talking about because it's predictable revenue for you. You want to know what the cycle is. When does your customer run out of your product so that you can be there waiting in the wings, ready to replenish their supply? So their freezer is empty. And there comes a point when they realize, oh my gosh, I only have 3 more rolls of ground beef. I have to take action. I've got to line up more ground beef. And now they're going and looking for bulk beef. So you want to know if you're a producer of bulk beef, like when was the last time that customer purchased from you? And what is the typical span of time before that person comes back around and needs to reboot their freezer, a booster, right? You want to know what that is, and you come at them about a month before that point and just kind of tickle them a little bit and say, "Hey, I'm here. When you're ready, I have a feeling your freezer's running low, and when you're ready, here we are." Um, I'm also thinking of gardens that fail. This is something that comes up every year for a few of our customers. They tell us, we're not going to join the CSA this year because we're going to do our own gardens. And we invariably have a few people who come and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea it was this hard to grow vegetables. I have so much appreciation for what you guys do. Everything was eaten by deer or by bugs or whatever. And I'm coming back to you. I'm desperate. I need the produce. So that depletion, that running out moment, they're now open for business. The taxi light's on. Pantry reset. So I have this happen every now and then with my gut healing products. Like there's certain foods that I get, like sorghum flour, for instance, or coconut milk, like these staples that I use a lot. And then all of a sudden I'll notice that I'm like down to my last bag. I'm like, oh my gosh, I use this so much. I need to replenish fast, and I have to, quickly go and source that and make sure that I have it back in my pantry so I don't skip a beat. I don't want it to upset my rhythm of meal planning. And that is a real pain. That brings me a little bit of fear, like, oh no, I don't have my bone broth. And bone broth is like an essential thing I do every day. I need to have this. Eggs running out is another great example that all of you can identify with. This is a staple in people's families. And when you run out of eggs, like the pipeline shuts down in the kitchen a little bit, right? And it makes the pain is so acute that it will actually cause a person to go to the store the next day or even maybe that night to restock on eggs. And guess what? When they're getting eggs, they often don't just show up and buy eggs, do they? They end up putting some other things in their cart. And so you can count on that, right? We like selling things that are staples, and we want those to sell out, or to run out, I should say, because it causes them to come and buy from us again. And there we are. And while they're visiting us, we of course have some other things in our product ladder that we can show them to increase the cart value. Okay, so these are the easiest, I think, moments to automate and build systems around. So really, like, I know that some of you have this trigger moment happening for some of your customers. I want you to think about this. Could you create a refill reminder? Could you have a subscription model? Do you have a bulk discount or some kind of a special offer that only comes around when you know that window is opening for them to trigger them to take action now? Um, the fourth idea that kind of falls under this problem zone is what I call um, like overwhelm moments, or where they're experiencing time pressure. That creates a really huge pain point. I'm thinking about like busy sports seasons with kids, which I'm living that world right now. Like my friends, a lot of these moms, they have such crazy schedules, and they're like driving their kids all over the place, barely getting a breath in. They're trying to feed their families, right? And they feel overwhelmed. Or the back to school chaos, or if you have a new job or there's a major schedule change, or I know we had this recently happen to us, when our parents, they go through kind of a caregiving season where Kurt's father had to get a heart um, surgery, open heart surgery. And so for like 2 months there this winter, we were in a role of just really having to be there for our parents in a much more significant way, right? And so the time pressure, it shifted our schedule, upset our patterns and our rituals. And in those moments when you do feel overwhelmed, can your product come in and serve as a way to help reduce the overwhelm, help reduce the pressure? In these moments, your customers don't want more choices. They want simplification. They want streamline. So the farm product angles here might be like, ready to cook produce kits, add-ons that just reduce people even thinking about it, pre-packed boxes or dinner in a box bundles, so that people just come, grab and go, and it's all there and convenient for them. So sometimes the taxi light is turning on when life is just getting really busy, too busy to figure food out even, and you step in and you kind of solve that pain point. The last one I want to mention under here, under this category of problem, is fear-based triggers. And this is stuff that can spike really, really fast, and it's very emotional. As I was brainstorming, I thought of things like food recalls, or the supply chain scares, like COVID-19 is a classic example of this, or even just labels, mistrusting labels. So I think what happens here is that people really want, or our ideal customers want to have control over their food. They want certainty. And so we meet that need in our messaging and in our products when we can talk about transparency, when we offer transparency, like how food is actually grown, or this know your farmer messaging, and pointing to our certifications, whether you're organic or something else. Behind the scenes content does a good job of helping this fear based trigger. So sometimes I think the taxi light turns on when trust breaks somewhere else in the food chain, and you can step in and say, but here's a solution that I have. So be thinking about, that was kind of a lot of different ways to spin the problem angle, but your customers, I always say this is kind of a basic marketing principle. People don't just buy your product, they buy a solution to a problem they have. And so your product, it needs to be positioned as a solution to some kind of a problem in many cases. And I know you can see through some of those examples how that fits your brand in some way. So think about that. Okay, the fifth category, of when the taxi light comes on is when culture shifts and forms a trend. I had a hard time like labeling this one. So I wrote trends, social proof, awareness. So maybe there's like a big update in the newsroom, or new protocols being recommended by the health department, or I don't know, just something becomes trendy and cool, and you just start seeing it everywhere in the culture. And it just opens up the willingness for more people to jump on the bandwagon and participate and buy that thing. Okay, I'm going to give you another example from the health world. I'm sorry, but this is just me. I'm living it, and it proves the point. So, one of the things that I've been learning a ton about is menopause. I'm not going to go into detail here, but there is this recent thing that's happened that I guess was really big, where apparently there was this black box warning on estrogen products, including like estradiol. And that was recently removed. Like the government, the powers that be decided that this black box warning was no longer valid, and it was taken off the products. And as a result, there has been this explosion now, and I probably just notice it because I listen to podcasts about health stuff and women's health things especially, but it just seems like everywhere I go now, I am seeing the topic of hormone replacement therapy and estrogen and all the things. And it's like the world is suddenly willing to talk about this because there was a major culture shift, there was a major trend that started. And that has created like this lemming effect, where all these people are just starting to hear about it and try it and do it. And now we're this social proof, this herd mentality. We're all starting to gallop towards the end of the hill. We're just one massive cultural phenomenon. So here's some examples of where I see this in the farming space. And I know you're going to like start nodding your head when I say this. So the sourdough trend, right? It's not quite as big now, but like for a while there, it was like sourdough everywhere. Um, Protein focused diets. That is huge. There was like carb focus for a while there. Now it's protein focused. And it's so funny because I see products popping up everywhere and they're advertising the protein element. Gut health movement is another big one. Local food is another big one, right? So sometimes the taxi light turns on because everyone else is getting into the cab. Like everyone's talking about it. It's this social proof. Either everyone's doing it or has the product or starting to play around with the product. And you notice that and suddenly your interest is piqued and you're like, yeah, I want to try that too. And you're much more open to purchasing this thing because everyone else around you is doing it. It's part of the culture. So, do you see your product in that particular category in some way? Like, I think you could because I just labeled some of them: protein focused diets, gut health movement, local food, sourdough, like those four right there alone. I know some of you could fall into those categories. Those are trends. Those are things where a lot of people are now talking about them. And you can also start talking about them and take advantage of how everyone in the culture is pointing to it. All right, let's land this plane. I guess what I wanted to accomplish with this podcast episode was for you to notice, like, if something in your farm product suite isn't selling, to just pause and consider a reframe, that it might not be a bad product. It might just be the wrong moment, right? Every product has an ideal time to promote it, an ideal time when it will fly off the shelf. And that product may sell all year long at a decent rate. There may be some weeks or months where it doesn't sell that well at all. And there may be some weeks or months where it is your best seller flying off the shelf and it's the thing you lead with, right? And you need to figure out what that is, pay attention to those trends and realize that it's okay if sometimes your product doesn't sell so great. It might just be the wrong moment. You might be just trying to pitch your swimsuit in February. So reflect on that. And if you can't figure out when your customer is already ready, like itching to buy, you don't have to work so hard to convince them. You just get into their taxi cab. So here's what I want you to do with this episode. I want you to pick one product. Just start with one product. If you enjoy this exercise, you can do it with a few other ones. Pick one product and then ask yourself, when is my customer already looking for this? And then step 3, I want you to identify the trigger type. Is it the seasonal aspect? Is it because it's a ritual or tradition? Is it spinning around a life event? Is it solving a problem? Is it a trend? And then finally, ask yourself, am I promoting this during that window? Or am I promoting it outside of it? Am I coming alongside them when they're showing interest in my product? Am I warming them up? Am I answering questions? Am I issuing an irresistible offer in this window of opportunity when they're open to it, when the taxi light is on? Because if you are, when you do, maybe it means you're going to pivot and kind of focus some more promotion time, promotion attention in your promotion calendar to that window of time when you identify it. But when you do, your conversion rate will increase, sometimes dramatically. So it's just a fun experiment to think about. Some of you are selling amazing products. You're just not selling them enough at the right time. And thinking about it a little bit strategically here might cause you to bring in a little more revenue. Plus, it's super empowering. It makes you feel amazing when your products are selling, doesn't it? So, yeah, I always like to help farmers find the ideal windows for products because it also just makes them feel good. Now, if you want help mapping this out across your entire product line so that you actually know what to promote each month of the year, or what products in your product suite, you're going to really dial in on and promote the heck out of in certain windows of time. Like, that whole process is done through a promotion calendar planning process. And I have a project inside of our marketing school called the promotion calendar, building a promotion calendar, that walks you step by step through how to do that, how to build that blueprint for what you're going to sell, just so you can see the big picture, bird's eye view, from month to month or even week to week if you want to get that specific on this is the stuff that I'm going to choose to pitch. And here's why, because I know that my customer, their taxi light's on for this right now. So it'll be an easy sell. All right. That's the end of the episode. Today's show notes can be found at mydigitalfarmer.com/358. And if you liked this episode, please share it with another farmer. I'd love it if you would either forward the email that I'll send you this week about the show, or you can take a copy of the link and text it to your friend so they find out about it. Let's get the word out to more farmers that there is help here. There are resources here on this podcast to help them learn how to sell better. Hey, if you want to get onto my email list, because I do send you the recap of the podcast every week, I'd love it if you would subscribe at mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. When you do, I'm also going to put you on that onboarding email sequence. Remember, you're going to get an email from me like once every week that walks you through the key things that you need to know when it comes to learning marketing. It is really good. It lasts for about 3-4 months, and just file them away. If you don't have time to read all of them, tuck them away and read them later on in the winter. But it's really good stuff. I point you to the key things to know. I give you resources, freebies. It's so good. So mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe if you want to get on that. And I'm also on Instagram at mydigitalfarmer, especially now that the main season is beginning. I'm going to be a lot more active there. And if you want to kind of see what we're doing on our own farm out here in Elmore, you can follow me at Shared Legacy Farms as well. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. Have an amazing week. And remember, I believe in you. Bye-bye.